Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we are answering your questions. That's right, we reached out to the patrons at patreon.com/Steven Larson and to our YouTube channel members to get your questions for this all Friendo question episode of Going In Raw. It's Ask Going In Raw Wednesday. And if you want to get your question in for next week's episode, you can do that at the patreon.com/Steven Larson or by clicking join to get one of those awesome YouTube channel memberships, or just stick around the YouTube streams and maybe somebody will gift one to you. I know we got a bunch of people here in the YouTube questions thread that were gifted subs by Leisha or Maggie or any of the other friendos who's gifted membership so generously over there on the YouTube. So would you like to kick things off, Larson?
Sure. Well, let's start with Mayor Planet Houston, who asks, how do you fix the issues with AEW?
AEW.
Will adding a third show help, or is there something else they should be doing? So we did do an episode of Count Out, like a couple months ago?
A little while ago, yeah.
About how to fix AEW, but we could talk about, some of the broader issues and how they could be addressed. Go ahead, Steve. What do you think?
Well, what if we frame it like this? Because he's talking about upcoming the AEW Collision or AEW Collison, depending on what the trademark ends up actually being.
Or if Nick Collison is the centerpiece and not CM Punk.
Right. Still, the jury might be out on that one. So, given that AEW is planning for a third show on Saturdays, that's supposed to be a 2-hour sort of, I guess, a sister show to Dynamite. And the idea that some of the backstage tensions that might arise with the return of CM Punk might be eased by having him on that show, and people who don't want to work with CM Punk, or maybe even potentially people CM Punk doesn't want to work with, will end up on the other show, which is Dangerous Ground.
Yeah.
Will having this third show, will that be any sort of solution to AEW's problems right now? Now, I'll be honest with you. When I go back and I look at our list of issues with the AEW, our list of things that we feel like AEW might want to look at fixing, they have addressed some of them. And I'm not suggesting that it's because of our list. I'm saying that they sort of seemingly.
No, it's absolutely because of our list, Steve.
Well, that's potentially. I guess that's possible. But our complaints were like, hey, a lot of matches aren't motivated by stories, and I feel like they've gotten a little bit better with that. There's numerous the idea that it'd be nice for stories to sort of weave in and out of each other, so it felt like a bigger universe, and they've addressed that kind of stuff. So there are, improvements I feel that are being made to AEW over the past month or two. Let's do this. Do you want to take the positives or negatives on the third show?
Okay, I'll take the positive, sure.
Okay. I'll take the negatives, and they're kind of, this is the easy one. I don't think it'll help because it's too much, and they haven't proven to have a solid plan for compelling creative with what they have. And there seems to be somewhat more focus with Dynamite, but you look at Rampage and you look at Ring of Honor, they're already second brand. And Ring of Honor seems to be just a dumping ground for matches. And granted, the matches might be good, but I don't see a lot of story there. And Rampage seems to be the kind of thing that can't get out of this rut of, it's not very important. People don't watch it. People don't watch it because it's not very important, but then it's not very important because people don't watch it. You know what I mean? It's like a catch-22.
It's catch-22, yeah.
They haven't figured that stuff out yet. So adding a whole other 2 hours, how could that possibly help anything? It's just more stuff for Tony Khan to do. So if it's not going to be compelling television, then what's the purpose of it beyond just oversaturating your promotion? Here's
the purpose of it, especially if it's not exactly a totally soft brand split.
Mm-hmm.
If say there's even 20% of the roster, 30% of the roster, it's like, all right, half of you, so 15%, are on Dynamite, no moving.
Mm-hmm.
The other 15% of you are on Saturday, you ain't going anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That creates a possibility for more people potentially to get on TV, on cable television, who might not otherwise get TV time on a regular basis. And that's like the primary positive that I could see in all this.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there's more opportunities with 2 extra hours of television for more people to get on television who aren't on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get more TV time, it gives you more opportunity to showcase your abilities, gives you more opportunities to potentially tell stories, and give you more opportunities to get over.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, that's pretty much the lone positive, because the third show, the 2 extra hours, could only put a brighter spotlight on the issues AEW has as it pertains to their creative.
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely possible. It's a better time spot than Rampage, but Saturday prime time ain't great.
Yeah, and they're still going to come up against a lot of preemptions. Yeah.
Yes, and then a lot of competition in terms of UFC, WWE pay-per-views, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's issues even that with the prime time spot on a Saturday. So it's entirely possible that it could maybe fall into the same rut to a certain degree as Rampage, where it's not the A show.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want it to be the B show. And some weeks where we really want to try to focus and get the viewership up, we'll really load it. But then when that doesn't work, we'll back off again
Mm-hmm.
for a while and then realize, we really need to drive viewership here, so really pump up the card here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that didn't work. All right, back to the same rut. That's kind of seems to be the pattern with Rampage, is they'll really try to load one up.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do the numbers they think it should, and then they back off.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then a live one happens, and they'll try to really boost that one up. And that might do a little better, but it's the same thing the following week when it's taped. It's like there's never a real sincere, motivated attempt to consistently load up Rampage to make it must-see TV live. And that's the thing.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
And if they treat AEW Collison like they do Dynamite, as in an A show, so it's an A, it's like 1A, 1B, then maybe, but the time spot still ain't great for the live viewership numbers,
Yeah, the time spot is it's a problem. I mean, dude, I'm trying to think of this in in a positive way, because that was my task. If Tony Khan decides to, and so far this has not been the case, the reporting from Andrew Zarian anyways, is that it's not going to be considered anything of a brand split. It's simply going to be, more of the same. The only brand split aspect of it is you're going to get CM Punk on the Saturday show, and the Elite aren't going to be on the Saturday show. That's kind of the extent of it. Or People Mox probably won't be on the Saturday show.
Well, I mean, I'd heard that it was like when Zarian said at first it was a soft brand split, and then when he followed up, I almost thought it made it sound like it was not as soft as he was leading it to believe.
I thought it was the opposite of that. I thought he said it's even softer than what I said.
Because I thought
we read that opposite ways.
Maybe.
Okay.
Like the Saturday show was going to be, of course, Punk and people that are more than happy to work with Punk.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And people that maybe, agnostic about the prospect of working with Punk. And then Dynamite would be people that don't want to work with Punk. People that were kind of meh about working with Punk, and then other people who were kind of up in the air about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So hold on. No, I think you're right though. Cultaholic. Here's this thing: AEW to have harder than expected brand split. Okay, so you're right about that. So this is what the quote was. The plans have been put in place to possibly have tentative Saturday show to be the soft brand split. When I used that term yesterday, Matt, I was told that it's less soft than I'm putting out there. Okay, you're right. Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be more of a brand split than not. Okay. Yeah. All right. I mean, look, if you do that and you keep, let's say, the tag titles on Wednesday and the trios titles on Saturday, right? And you have a SmackDown Raw situation
opposite right now, because FTR is going to be on the Saturday show.
Okay, right. Yeah. So you do the opposite of that. You keep the international title on probably the CM Punk show, and you keep the TNT title on the Wednesday show. Mm-hmm. You keep Jade on the Saturday show as the featured attraction, and you keep the other title on the other show. I think that there's a possibility that'll work better than just sort of a convoluted mess where like any of the titles can show up on any of the shows. I've been a fan of, I've been an advocate of the harder brand split in WWE as well, because I just think it's better. The idea that you can watch one show and not watch the other show, I kind of like. But I just don't have faith that Tony Khan has the ability to book compelling weekly wrestling television. Like, he's very inconsistent with it, because I think it's a hard thing to do.
It is
for a person a person who's dedicated to doing that, and he's not, because he's got a bunch of other stuff going on.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think you need to get your shit in order first, and then you can worry about expanding. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a terribly great idea.
But the situation is not so much Tony Khan's looking to expand. It's the network saying, hey, we're really happy with the numbers on Dynamite. Do you think we could replicate something like that on Saturday primetime show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, from Tony Khan's perspective, he's not going to turn that down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And at that point, do you need 2 world champions? If you're going to do a harder than expected brand split.
They start the AEW calls in the first episode. Here you go, Phil.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, man. I don't know. Here you go, Phil. Good luck getting through a match without ripping something.
By the time is next 3 years in the contract, AEW's going to have that title 9 times just because he gets it.
Yeah.
Gets hurt, has to vacate.
I mean, I honestly do think that's the biggest issue with CM Punk coming back, is that you don't want to, and I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but you don't want to make the show, like, make CM Punk the main driving point of that third show, because he might be gone after one match.
Yeah.
He did 20 matches in AEW. He did 20. And after that, it was Injury City.
Yep.
He jumped into the crowd. My foot exploded.
Yeah.
He has a match against Mox. And I'm not going to say it's a credit to, but that's the thing about CM Punk. I don't think that guy knows how to wrestle any other way, but just giving everything he has.
Yeah.
And that's a credit to him. That's why I always loved him back in the day.
Yeah.
Because that in-ring style was so much more compelling than like a John Cena. It was like, man, this guy's really putting in the work in the ring. And, AEW had him in matches against like Matt Sydal. It's like, use the guy 6 times a year, not 20.
Yeah. But that's
in 7 months.
That's the story that Punk wanted to tell.
Yeah, I know.
Learning how to wrestle again, essentially.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, you find out in retrospect, right? Everything is in retrospect. For that 7 months, everything was great.
Yeah.
And then it all fell apart. Now that you have that info, maybe reconsider having him in matches against,
only saving him for marquee matches. Yeah, I get it.
Against Jeff Jarrett, perhaps, or
yes, exactly. Well, Jeff Jarrett goes over.
Or QT Marshall, yeah.
I got a question here from Lucha Mike. Lucha Mike asks, how do you guys think the hype after WrestleMania has died down so much so quickly? So with something I think I brought up on the Raw recap yesterday.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And it's a confluence of things, and I think to a certain degree it predates WrestleMania. In a lot of ways, the emotional crescendo, the emotional high mark of so much of this bloodline story happened at the Rumble and then a bit later at Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
And especially after Elimination Chamber, a lot of the complexities and a lot of the tension and a lot of the suspense of the bloodline story just wasn't there to the same degree.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Not to say there was none. It just wasn't there to the same degree. It wasn't the situation where you're going to turn on Raw or SmackDown like, oh gosh, what's going to happen this week? Because seemingly for weeks in a row, Sammy would get himself in a situation where like he's going to get kicked out tonight. It seems inevitable. And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it made for great television. It did.
Mm-hmm.
You combine that with Cody taking on Roman, and I think for a lot of people, that really took the air out of WWE when Cody lost at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
And add to that the less than compelling storylines for the 2 women's title matches at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So as great as those matches were, they would have been even better if there was good, compelling storylines behind them. And then coming out of those matches, they'd have the momentum of not only winning, but winning in the midst of telling a really good story.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And hopefully that story would give them direction after they won the belts.
Yeah.
And so it just didn't really seem like any of that really happened out of WrestleMania. And so you have certain aspects of stories coming out of WrestleMania, they're just kind of going. Some aren't. To a certain extent, it seems like, well, everything was in place for the Bloodline story to come to a conclusion at WrestleMania. It didn't. So now it's just kind of spinning its wheels. So I totally get that idea. At the same time, the WrestleMania is supposed to be essentially like the season finale of the year. It's the show where things are supposed to come to a close.
And by
storylines are supposed to culminate on this huge stage.
And because of that, the next episode of the weekly television is supposed to set up a lot of stuff. And as we all know, the Raw After Mania did none of that except for one thing, and that's Cody Brock, which incidentally, in my eyes, is the most compelling thing to happen after WrestleMania. It's like the one thing that I'm kind of mildly curious about, even though I am actually legitimately curious how they're going to do this at Backlash with Cody versus Brock. But that's sort of the lone thing that I am interested in, because they haven't done a good job of setting more stuff up. I agree with everything you said about how they sort of limped their way into WrestleMania. They set up the big matches, and then they sort of drifted their way there. There wasn't a lot of twists and turns because the matches were set. They did nothing to really, advance Rhea versus Charlotte. Rhea, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't even have a real contender right now. Bianca does, but it's not really something that Bianca was involved with. It's damage control stuff, which also is kind of interesting to see how it affects damage control. But even that hasn't really been hammered home all that much. Like this week on Raw, it was Bianca versus Dakota Kai. Mm-hmm. And they, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't really, did Bayley do much of any, like Bayley was there, right? She was there. Yeah. But like they didn't really advance much with that. They just haven't advanced anything. I mean, that's the thing. They've done Cody Brock, and that's it. They've got at Backlash a Bad Bunny tag match with Judgment Day and then Ray and Bad Bunny, if that's going to be the thing, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's more in my mind. I just see it as like sort of a tourism board match. I like Bad Bunny. I think he's shown a real commitment to the ring, which is great. Same way Logan Paul has, but Bad Bunny seems like a cool guy. And so, but that's not the most compelling story beat. Once they get to, if they ever do get to Mask versus Hair, now we're talking. If we're going to go to some sort of end game with Ray and Dom, now we're talking, but they're not. They're taking a detour towards the Celebrity Island. There's no challenger for Rhea. There's a challenger for Bianca, but it's not really the most compelling thing in the world. The Trish stuff is good. I think that's fine. That was a beat. That was a story beat. That's cool. But yeah, the Bloodline stuff is just meandering. It's not going anywhere. And we thought that there was going to be a big deal with it at WrestleMania, and then Cody lost, and now you're just sort of still doing the same stuff. Now, I'd like to think that maybe after Backlash, when we have an idea of, okay, how did this Cody Brock thing play out? Now we're past Bad Bunny. Are things going to heat up heading into Night of Champions? Maybe there will be, something a bit more compelling heading into that. They've done a pretty good job across the board with their pay-per-views, with their premium live events.
Yeah.
And so I expect Backlash to be probably a good show.
Yeah, it'll be a fun show.
And maybe something will come out of it. But right now, the lull after Mania is real. There's not a lot going on, but Vince killed himself with the Raw After Mania. It sucked.
That didn't help things at all.
And there really hasn't been a ton of momentum since then. The U.S. title, Austin Theory is cold, super cold.
Yep.
You've got, even as much as I love Xavier Woods, and I think a match that he's going to have with Gunther is going to be really good stuff. It seems like another aspect, they might be just on hold till the draft.
That could be.
Because you can have a bunch of new pieces in place, and that might end up being more of a, like, the Raw and SmackDown after the draft might end up being more like the Raw after Mania, which we should get, because there might be NXT call-ups through the draft, maybe some returns. Who knows what they're doing with Shinsuke. So, I think maybe we're just in a lull between Mania and the draft when some stories are going to pick up. That's all I know.
That could be. Mr. Sinister here asks, so right now the rumor is that Cody will win the title or titles at Mania 40 from Roman. If that's true, then does that mean he's going to win the Rumble again to challenge him, or will WWE work a way for him to challenge at Mania?
He needs to show up. I I understand the criticism of him being in at like 30 at the draft, or I'm sorry, at the Rumble. So like, I guess put him in at 1 at the Rumble.
Yeah.
Have him win that way. I don't believe any rumor that says anybody's going to beat Roman at 40. I don't think for a second that they have definitive plans for anything at WrestleMania 40. I refuse to believe that, because I think that they have several options and they're not going to lock themselves into anything right now. I don't believe that. I think that he'd have to win the Rumble in order to challenge him, though. Whoever wins the Rumble is going to fight Roman at Mania.
Yeah. Especially if they don't split the titles, they kind of have to do it that way.
And that's a big what if also.
And also, but if they do split the titles and Roman holds the Universal one, I mean, Cody wants the WWE one. That's the one with the lineage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't even know if he would go after Roman in that
That's a good point as well. Yeah.
So, we're going to learn a lot at the draft if they split the belts, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
If they do, and the WWE title, if they create an amalgam of the WWE title and Universal title, and therefore the Universal title gets the WWE title's lineage, then Cody will go after Roman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they create a brand new belt for Raw.
I think he should anyways, though, right? Like, let's say they split it and Roman keeps the Universal, so he gets to keep on with 1,000 days and on, right?
Yeah.
And they do the WWE title as its own thing. Even if they do that, Cody gets that. I like the idea that he's still like, and then you do title for title at WrestleMania, you justify it somehow and you figure out the Rumble. You just figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it.
But you do it, and you have Cody coming in with the WWE title. I mean, it's what they did last year with Brock and Roman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just have all those titles there, and then you know Cody comes out with both his title and Roman's title. I think that's probably a good enough way to do it.
Yeah, it could work. It could. Edward Munoz has a question here. It says, do you think wrestling fans are ready to have the conversation the Attitude Era might be overrated?
What?
So it continues. I had some of the worst wrestling booking decisions and gimmicks that didn't age well of all time. Never mind the casual racism and misogyny as well.
Casual? Blatant outright? Yeah.
Edward continues. Plus all the clips WWE ever shows of it, or the most people remember it, is from a few weeks from '98, and that's about it. I feel like it's cast a shadow over the last 20 years of wrestling, when the wrestling we have now in almost every way is way better. I still remember when TNA first started in peak Ring of Honor during 2006 2012, and now with AEW, the thing that draws people in is how, quote, reminds them of the Attitude Era.
So I'll take the side of this that is legitimate when it comes to people rating the Attitude Era. The enthusiasm for the product has never been matched. I don't care what metric you use these days with social media and this, that, the other. The enthusiasm to this day, dude. And I know you've had this too. Whenever you tell anybody what you do for a living, what do most of the time they say? Oh man, I used to watch Stone Cold was popular.
There's two reference points if you want to talk to people about wrestling that may not be fans of it today. Mm-hmm. It's either they watched during the Rock and Wrestling era when Hogan was on top, or they watched the Attitude Era.
Yeah. The enthusiasm was unmatched. Being in the building for an Attitude Era show was really electric. It was something else. It really was. But all the criticisms are totally sound.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah. A lot of the stuff, most of the stuff they did in the Attitude Era has not aged well. At all. Yeah. I think people look upon the Attitude Era as like the halcyon days of professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And you look back at things, you tend to remember what you liked and not so much what you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Or even half the stuff you remembered as you liking it, if you went back and revisit it, you'd be like, oh man, this is cringy anyway.
The casual aspect of it is off the charts. If you go back and watch some of it even still, like on Peacock, but I know on the network they were a lot looser with it. I haven't really checked on Peacock, but man, I went back and just any random mass episode of Raw from 1997, 1998. Wow.
Yeah.
Some of that shit is really hard to watch.
It is. But there's aspects of that era of wrestling the energy to it, I think, is what people remember. It's the urgency of the shows, the idea that anything could happen.
Yeah.
And that got people talking about the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we would get together Monday nights, friends from college, watch it. It was destination viewing for us.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
because we want to know what was going to happen.
Oh, dude, we used to get together in person.
Yeah,
that's
what I mean.
Yeah, we'd be super into it, man.
But, I mean, and like the idea, a lot of times Raw back then is something that we still talk about now. Is Raw back then, the show felt like a living, breathing organism, and that it was people would, run into each other backstage, things would happen, and a lot of it was unexpected, but it felt natural because it felt like we were there backstage, and it was just a chaotic environment.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and so much of it felt organic. Again, this is how I remember it. And that's something that WWE now does not do very well on a consistent basis.
Yeah,
it lacks that energy. It lacks that urgency.
It is remarkable when you go back and you look at just how hardcore they rebranded themselves for the Attitude Era versus what they were even a year or two early, like in 95, 96. And to have that, it just felt cool. And it hasn't felt that way in a long time, simply because it's a highly produced, not very grungy product that is slick and corporate and proper and PG and all that kind of stuff. And that's not to say that you can't produce compelling stuff. We've seen with the Bloodline. It can be compelling. It can be really good. If you write stories, you can tell really cool stuff. You can have a sense of urgency in that. But the idea that you're watching something that really was sort of counterculture and was just cool, it's like, man, everybody was into it back then. Yeah, it's a lot different, but that energy that we're talking about, that's what made it.
It really
that's
was.
Really what made it.
Zondo makes a good point here. He says everything felt like it had momentum. It felt like a series of continuous stories. Yeah, because one segment would lead to the other, lead to the other, lead to the other. That's kind of what I mean by it felt like an organic,
there was always
living thing. Yeah.
There's always stakes involved too. It was like, what's going to happen this week? And I mean, the Russo thing of Crash TV, there is some validity to that. Obviously it had to be tempered by, McMahon and whoever else. But the idea that you always have to be pushing it to that next level is a sound one when it comes to wrestling, because wrestling is fairly absurd and it works best when there's just chaos going on. And you see a little bit of that with Triple H. He loves his pull apart brawls almost to a fault. But
you can almost get to the point in a story where you're like, all right, here comes the pull apart,
and that's where it becomes a problem. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, almost to a fault. But I don't know. I do feel like Triple H is trying to build his characters to a point where they can maybe capture some of that energy from before. But man, it was just the place to be back then. And they had that perfect storm of characters and performers that really were unmatched. They had that, you had that sense of freedom that seemingly they had to explore their characters a bit, and they just kind of don't do that anymore. But yeah, no, it was energy wise. It ain't overrated. It was something else. It really was.
The energy of it was something else.
The actual content could be dog shit sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolute dog shit at times. Yes. Alex Foster here asks, do you guys think a push or moment happening too late can hurt the perception of it? For example, Alex Foster says, I love Sonata, but by the time he won the belt, I feel like I already gave up hope.
Man, speaking on Sonata specifically, I think it's great for him. I'm a big aesthetics guy, when he had that cool, like, space punk rock guy look, that's when he put the belt on him. Not when he sheds everything and he looks like, he looks like he just came out of the LA dojo. Cause the dude he looks phenomenal. Like, he looks like he's 20 years old. But I don't know. Yeah. Can a push or moment happening too late hurt the perception of it?
Yeah.
If Cody wins at WrestleMania 40 and it feels like something that is inevitable as opposed to what just happened, where it could have been like, oh wow, that's a really great moment that peaked perfectly. You run the risk of damaging the moment, sure.
Yeah, for sure. It remains to be seen if and when Cody wins the titles, if they build up to the same level of crescendo they did coming up to Mania 39, because it wasn't just him.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It was Owens and Zayn going after those tag titles. It felt like a perfect kind of culmination in a lot of ways to bring that story to a close. They didn't do it. I'm sure they have their reasons. But for sure, I mean, go back to when Naito was like one of the hottest performers in all of wrestling. He was facing Okada at Wrestle Kingdom and lost.
Mm-hmm.
He had to wait till the next year to get that win, and it felt like, well, they should have done it last year?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
When he was trying to pay for meals with the Intercontinental title because he had such resentment towards that belt.
That's a great reference there.
So yeah, it totally can. There's probably a number of instances when it seemed like the moment was right to do something, and then it didn't happen. And when they finally got around to it, it's like, all right, it's still kind of cool, but
yeah,
should have done it when they had the chance a year ago or whatever.
Imagine if they had waited to put that title on Austin at like SummerSlam 98 instead of WrestleMania 98. It's like, because DX was hot. Obviously, behind the scenes, Shawn Michaels was in a lot of pain, but yeah, no, it was the perfect moment. It was the perfect moment for Austin.
Or imagine if they didn't do anything with Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of an interesting one, because at SummerSlam, when he had that title won, it felt like the perfect moment.
Yeah.
And that was the situation where waiting actually helped, because, they did the cash in from Orton, and Triple H turned on him.
Yeah.
And then they did. I mean, I don't, obviously the story is they didn't want to give him the Mania thing. It was supposed to be for Batista. Yeah. And so the fans, turned on the company.
Well, so I'm saying if Daniel Bryan had won at SummerSlam and then everything else happened as it did, except they didn't go through with the Mania 30 moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
People are like, come on.
Yeah.
We want this. Come on.
Yeah.
And if it never came, like if it didn't come for another year later, people are like, all right, fine. I guess we're still happy about it, but should have done it a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Stan. Oh, this is a tough one. Says, what character shift do you think could make Theory interesting? Austin Theory. So we talk about cookie cutter smiling baby faces, but he's as cookie cutter a heel as there's ever been, and he's quite dull at it. That's a great point. We often talk about how much more fun heels seem to have. He doesn't seem like he's having fun.
No, he doesn't.
He really doesn't. They have really dropped the ball with him.
He hasn't looked like he's been having fun since he got called back up to main roster.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
He looked like he was having fun in NXT when he was a member of the Way.
Yeah, right. He does. Yeah. Oh man, 1,000%.
There's a character he understood. He was able to explore that character, and he did a good job with it.
Yeah.
I wonder if he even knows who his character is.
Clearly, he doesn't.
I wonder if anybody in WWE knows who his character is.
He's a bystander now. Like, now they're just using him and his title to advance Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
So what can they do in a specific manner?
They should have had John Cena beat him. And then that would have forced his hand, a moment of reflection, because he couldn't stomach the idea that John Cena was right. Not only was John Cena right, but he lost his title when he claimed to be forever champion. He needs to be forced into having a moment of reflection.
Yeah. You thought, but here's the thing, though. Like, they had that opportunity when he lost. There's no bigger look. Losing to John Cena is one thing, but that cash-in moment was humiliating.
The humiliation of the cash-in moment. I know. I thought they were going to do that there, where at first he was going to be like, "Oh, I just need to be more angry and brutal."
Yeah.
And then find that doesn't work either. All right, I need to be smarter about things. Is this going to work? Like, he'd have to continually evolve to figure out what he needed to do to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And they just never did that. It's just, okay, I'm gonna be a badass dude. It's the boring character archetype brought up from NXT from 2018.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
badass dude who likes to fight.
Yeah, right. But he doesn't really even like to fight, and he's not he's not terribly good at it.
No.
So like he's like a fake badass.
Yeah.
So it's literally, they've given him the worst of all worlds.
Really have.
And you got to, I don't know. I mean, look, the bottom line is this. You can come up with, like you just did, lose to Cena, self-evaluation, figure things out. There's a number of things you can do with him. The bottom line is creative needs to focus on him.
Yes.
And and it's isn't it like the weirdest thing that they haven't? It's the strangest thing. And I wonder, maybe are they leaving it to him? Because Triple H, he does seem like there are instances where you can see with Triple H won, and a great example of this is WrestleMania 32.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H tried to this seems obvious as day, that Triple H tried to force Roman into figuring out how to get around, as a performer, figuring out how to get around Triple H crotch chopping and popping the crowd every 2 seconds. And Roman couldn't. He couldn't. That's why that match sucked, and that's why it didn't help Roman at all.
Nope.
And maybe they're like, hey, you figure it out. Cena figured it out. If you want to be the next Cena, you got to figure it out, because Cena did. But Cena fluked into it. Like, there is no bigger fluke than Cena rapping on TV in a Halloween episode dressed up like Vanilla Ice.
And then Stephanie saying, hey, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Run with that. And then he did the thing where it's okay, I'm just going to be an extension of myself. I'm going to rap. I'm going to run people down with my clever raps, which Cena could do very well, because Cena's a great improviser.
Yeah.
Theory is not a great improviser. Every time this dude gets on commentary, he seems lost.
Yep.
He doesn't know what to say. And if the idea is, hey, in order for you to be that guy, you have to find that, it's possible he just doesn't have it. And then they just need to stop, because he's going to end up being the most boring character that gets shoved down our throats, and everybody's going to hate it. Maybe he'll have his tribal chief moment in 5 years.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. In the meantime, stop holding up the U.S. title.
I know. Nikyle here asks, when the Usos get kicked out of the bloodline, how will the bloodline function? Will they just go with Solo as the only guy that Roman could trust? Or would Roman replace the Usos with someone else? And if so, who?
Boy, that'd be awesome if he replaced them. I mean, the big question is, it pretty deadly? Yes, boy. Throw up your ones. That'd be amazing. Von Wagner.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know who he can replace him with. I mean, you could, do some contract tampering and get Jacob Fatu in to team with Solo Sikoa if he wants like a tag team.
I mean, because so much of the bloodline is predicated on family.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and so it's hard to believe anyone outside the family would be welcomed in as full-fledged members.
Diane. Little do you know, we're actually from Samoa.
Grizzled young Usos, huh?
The grizzled young Usos. The grizzled young Anoais.
So I don't know if you can just take the Usos out and plug just somebody else in. I don't think it would work the same way.
Yeah.
You need to be family.
You would need to divorce yourself. So like they could possibly bring in speaking of schism, you could take Ava Rain, or Ava, I guess is now just Ava. You could bring her in, I think that could be cool. You'd have to like divorce yourself with the idea that it's going to be a tag team, because there are none out there.
Yeah.
But if you want to build upon the bloodline with people who are loyal to Roman and also, book them as dominant in their particular divisions, then Solo and Ava Rain, and then maybe, if you do bring in Jacob Fatu, I think that'd be a terrific thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I think there are some options out there, but there are none like family based that are really obvious besides them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see if the Usos get those tag titles back this spring.
Yeah.
And if so, how much of it is dependent upon Solo essentially winning the titles for him?
Yeah.
And then if it's Solo who decides, all right, I've had enough of this, I'm up and out of here. If he's the one that leaves the bloodline and seeing it all fall apart, then maybe that's the direction they're going with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, because they're setting Solo up for something. Something
They
pretty
are
massive.
He's getting these wins, man. He's getting these wins against legit people clean.
Yeah.
And that's awesome for him. But I want to know what's the deal here.
Yeah,
Like,
what's the end game with
there?
that? Yeah.
Could you imagine if they keep building him up this way and he wins the Rumble? Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how there is the potential for a story.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
But is that what the plan is right now? I'd like to think so. I like to think so.
You like to hope they have a plan, but who knows?
I mean, he's legitimately a brother of the Usos.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if he kept on building up this momentum? The Usos have been kicked out 5 months earlier, and then Solo turns on Roman and is actually aligned with his brothers the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. It'd be something else.
That would be nuts. Yeah.
Before we move on to the next question, we got about 360 people here watching on YouTube currently. You'd be so kind as to give us a like, a thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe, hit that notify bell. We'd really appreciate it. We're a new podcast. We're trying to grow our channel here. We've only been doing it for a couple months after, working in the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Most of our adult lives.
We're a couple. I mean, as you can tell, we're a bit on the older side.
Yeah.
We put in a solid 25 years as civil servants.
Yeah.
And then we were like, hey, you know what?
Time to follow the dream now.
Time to follow the dream. That's got to be a shirt. Time to follow the dream, guys. While we're at it, we do want to give a special thanks to some of our newer patrons here on the Patreon, patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Ben Rothman, Living in Sin, 35 Infinite, Dale Jackson, Brennan Moss, Mochi, and Thomas Austin Jr. Let me load up really quick the new channel members. I know we got a bunch of those. Yes. We're at 355 channel members. And you love to see it. A lot of them are gifted as well. Cool. So a shout out to anybody who's gifted any channel memberships. Let's see here. So here's some new ones and over the past week and some re-ups. Brandon Weller, Benoit Richer, Kobe, Scott Long, Hypocrisy Jones, TNA for Life. He's been around forever. Yeah. David Matushek, Bernard Bunting, Justifiable Treason, Peachy Bose, Joel Hartman, Kevin Bush, Sean Montefort, Heather Wright, Jason H., Lucas Lopez, Zyshawn Moore, Travis Graves, Fungin Video Games, Arisor, Riyadh Gauss, Cam C., Ultimate Taco, Alvin Jones, Ungrim Iron Fist, Sean R., Tia Katai, Justin Brooks, Alt Star Zero, Big Cat, Ray Wrighton, The Real JT, and Clown 13420. Thank you very much, everybody, for your memberships and your gifts. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on, Motato Chips asked, do you think that we'll be getting a Judgment Day Bloodline program down the line since Judgment Day failed to keep their end of the deal?
That should be next. I would love that. Finn versus Roman again.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Judgment Day is probably going to end up on SmackDown, seeing as Rhea is a SmackDown Women's Champ. It'd make a lot of sense to do that over the sometime in the spring. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of potential there for some fun stuff to happen. Yeah. So I hope it does.
Absolutely. Chris Stan says, what's your least favorite wrestling trope besides waiting till television to have conversations? Mine is someone no longer in the Rumble being able to eliminate someone in the Rumble. That's a great one. I can't stand that either. Yeah.
I mean, I've always said it's when people are been hit by a huge move, and while they're selling that huge move, they're adjusting their knee pads or something like that.
Yeah.
I wish takes me out of the illusion for a moment.
I wish. Lately it's when somebody gets kicked out from ringside and they just come back. Yeah. There seems to be no consequences for people.
No.
Yeah.
No. Have you gotten used to people looking at the ref when they're supposed to kick out of a pin?
Oh.
That used to bother you.
No, it does. It still does. I think it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. Somebody recently was looking at the ref and they got they got pinned like on the 3. I think it was Baron or somebody. I forget who it was. They were looking at the ref.
This is the show.
And that was it. So it doesn't bother me as much as it used to.
All right.
Time War says, what moments in wrestling got you so emotional you started crying or at least got teary-eyed?
When Kofi won the title at WrestleMania 35.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When Sasha and Bianca main evented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
before that match started, where they started getting emotional. I mean, like, how could you not? You know?
Yeah, that got me kind of misty. Yeah. When Moose speared Josh Alexander in front of his kid and his wife. I was like, not in front of the child.
Did you ever see the bit where Josh Alexander was giving up his belt and his son came up and grabbed it from him, so he wouldn't hand it over?
I did, and I read about it. The enforcer told us about it or something, and I never went to go watch it. That sounds great, though.
The timing of it, like of the whole thing, was really well done. It was really well done.
Yeah. So that was good. I don't know if I've ever actually had tears, but I've gotten misty-eyed before.
Yeah, I've gotten misty-eyed several times. Yeah.
God dang, I'm trying to remember. I thought there was something more recent. When somebody was doing a promo and some of it came off as a shoot, but I forget. I don't know now.
Yeah. I'll probably think more when we're done.
When Undertaker got buried. Maggie's like, got misty-eyed when Bayley won the title after Money in the Bank and celebrated with the crowd. Yeah.
Dirty Legs asks, if for any reason Punk doesn't come back, how do you see AEW's main event picture looking for the rest of 2023? What if he's like, here, or Tony Khan is here? We give you your own show.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And then Punk's like, it doesn't work for me, brother.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to go write comic books and star in horror movies.
Oh, yeah.
And doesn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
What does the main event scene look like in AEW? So, of course, it looks like Double or Nothing. We're getting the 4 pillars. We're getting that match. That seems set.
Yeah. After that...
Forbidden Door. Who is MJF wrestling at Forbidden Door?
It's probably... You think they're going to put him in there with Okada? Whoever he fights is going to beat them.
Yeah, he's going to win.
I don't think they're going to do Okada, are they?
What if they do MJF Naito? That'd be fun.
That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be really cool. I'd be down with that. MJF can beat Naito.
All right, so then we need All in London. Who is he going to take on at All in London?
In not the main event. Well, let me ask you this: do you think do you think that he's going to defend it at both All in London and All Out?
Maybe not. They might just bypass for him All in London and save his match for All Out.
I'm kind of thinking that might be the situation.
All right.
I mean, he might be at All in London.
Maybe
he'll do like who is he going to tag with though? I don't know.
They should sometime during the course of the year. They should have a feud between him and Kenny.
Yeah,
that needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, him versus Cole is going to be, I think, maybe eventually the thing that gets a title off him.
Yeah.
But if they go all in with Cole like sooner than later, they might have to do that title match and get it out of the way, and Cole just won't win. I don't know. But I get the feeling that they're going to try to get that momentum behind Adam Cole and have him win the title.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So that could be Full Gear, or Winter is Coming, since they kind of treat that as nearly a pay-per-view level show.
That could be. I get the feeling that the next title match, when he loses the title, I think it's going to be at an actual pay-per-view, though.
Yeah, probably.
Because like last year's Winter is Coming was kind of like, you know,
yeah,
doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
All right, this is quite a name. Hulkster 69's you.
Oh no!
Says, I enjoyed and liked Orange Cassidy for a long time, but the last few months have been boring, knowing he will always win. Every match is predictable. Do you think he needs to lose the belt? Well, Hulkster 69's you. I think you're going to be in luck soon. I think they're setting up the story of him losing the title right now because his hand's all busted up.
His hand's busted up, and he's in a feud with House of Black. Malachi.
Yeah.
I'm international. I want that title. You give it to me. Your hand hurts many times.
I will say though that he consistently finds a way to work his thing, his gimmick, into matches in interesting and creative ways.
Yeah,
it's
I don't
not
think he's
just
boring,
always the shin kick thing again. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that, dude. I like Orange Cassidy. I think he keeps it. I did not think that would be the case. Like 3 years ago when people were like, how is Orange Cassidy not going to get boring? I'm like, he is. But he's not. I've been proven wrong on that one, man. His match last year against Shibata, I still love
really
that
good.
match. It's so good.
Really good.
And yeah, he finds clever ways to insert his shtick into all those matches, and he shows off some personality beyond just the, whatever his gimmick is, nihilist or whatever he is. Apathetic.
Did you say a nihilist?
I did that to pop you.
Does he have pet marmot?
You're running with the scissors. Orange Cassidy's real name is Carl Hungus.
Carl Hungus. There you go.
Yeah.
He's just there to fix the cable.
Yeah, exactly. He's a nihilist. So yeah, no, I like Orange Cassidy, man. I think he's good. But yeah, I think he's gonna lose that title to Malachi.
Yeah, I think so too.
We believe in nothing.
I believe so too. I guess we can lightning around a few of these. Some of these questions were kind of similar, so I didn't get them all in. Cat Dad 7 says, when Triple H said this year's draft will change the game, could that have been a public cry for help because Vince is going to take full control of it? I think that was just him, a play on words where he can use his nickname. And
I think he was sort of saying that he's doing the draft himself. I think that's what he's trying to assure us, anyways.
Yeah. Let's see. JR Jr., what's worse, wrestling that never breaks kayfabe or wrestling that breaks kayfabe too often? Probably the latter.
I agree. I just, dude, you know what? I want everybody to be on the same page backstage. I want them to try to create some cool stories for me to watch on my TV. I don't want to think that these people don't. It's funny because I used to be down with that. I used to be like, oh, well, they got a little bit of heat here. Look at what's going on here. Why is Charlotte and Nia Jax really throwing hands? Mm-hmm. I'm not into that anymore, man. There's too much backstage bullshit. I just want them to go backstage, come up with some cool shit, and then like make me believe that they're really in a fight. You know? That's what I want. But I want like weird. Go back and watch Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior at Halloween Havoc. That shit's terrible because neither guy wanted to do anything with the other guy.
Yeah, it's awful.
I don't need to see that.
Cameron Bordalazzo says, I really liked your conversation on potential Montez Ford solo run. What would you have him do in his first 3 months as a singles wrestler?
I would
win a title.
Yeah, the U.S. title. Austin Theory would do an open challenge. How about this? This would be cool. How about this? Draft episode of Raw. And in the first, here's what you do. Draft episode of Raw, the Street Profits have a tag title match against Owens and Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that if they win, they get to stay together. If they lose, they're split. Okay? They lose. They're split. You get that emotional moment in the ring. That happens to open up the show. Top of the second hour, Austin Theory offers up an open challenge. Montez answers it, wins the United States Championship. Him and Dawkins get to celebrate with each other, and then Dawkins heads off to SmackDown. That would be sick.
That'd be fun.
That would be cool.
That would be fun. I think you got it.
Yeah.
Matthew Norris, if you had been given the book for an all companies mixed match tournament, the only rule is all teams must be real life couples.
Okay.
What couple gets a surprise run, and who wins?
Oh, Macklin and Peraza.
Wins?
They win everything, dude. They win.
I'll say Montez and Bianca wins.
Punisher logos everywhere, Larson.
What's that?
Punisher logos everywhere.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. What are you going to say?
Oh, Montez and Bianca win.
That's good. No, you know what? If it was gonna, well, he's an Impact. Jordan Grace and Gresham. Them. I want to see them like a mixed match thing. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Daniel Lidato says, do you think this rumored brand split for AEW will be used to market brand versus brand matches at Forbidden Door? I had not thought of that. I suppose that's possible.
All right, there you go. I could do that.
Andrew Bates, which major wrestling promotion would you love to work for and in what capacity? Would you want to be more behind the scenes or calling the action in the ring?
Calling the action in the ring. I want to do English language commentary for AAA with you.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I want to do. That'd be awesome. I'd bone up on my moves. Yeah. Although it's not like their English language commentary talks about moves very much anyway.
No.
One of their dudes sounds like he's in the bathroom.
Yeah, he did. It's very echoey.
Man. Yeah, I want to do that shit. That sounds awesome.
That'd be a lot of fun. Hella fun. Luis here says, if you were to give a new member to each faction, who would you get and who would WWE most likely pick? So we're just talking WWE factions.
Let's just talk WWE factions.
All right, Judgment Day. Who joins Judgment Day?
Oh, Jay White. Wait, no, never mind. He can't do that. Who joins Judgment Day? Bring up somebody from NXT to join Judgment Day.
All right. Or sign Tama Tonga. Have Tama Tonga join Judgment Day.
That's cool. Where is he? Yeah, what's going on with that?
As far as I know, he's still in New Japan.
Joe Gacy joins Judgment Day.
All right.
I think that Joe Gacy's like Austin Theory. I think all the ingredients are there, but Schism kind of does nothing for me.
Yeah.
Schism has all the good ingredients, but like they kind of do nothing for me.
I know. Their branding's like really good.
Their branding is off the charts.
All right, how about this? Who joined Schism?
Oh man, Austin Theory joined Schism.
There you go.
Yeah,
good. Kind of talked about Bloodline. Who could join?
Yeah. LWO.
Oh, Dragon Lee.
Oh, that's good. I was going to say the Humberto Garza.
Oh, that'd be good too.
The LW had a lot of people in it. I was looking at this the other day. I want to do more research in this. Is it possible that, like, pound for pound, LWO was the most talented faction ever?
It's entirely possible.
They had a lot of people, and they were, like, all legends in Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's like an all-star team.
Yeah.
But just not in, like, North America. Or, I'm sorry, not north of Mexico is what I meant.
Yes.
That was such a faux pas. I'm sorry.
The real JT says here, with all this talk about who could be called up from NXT in the draft, who do you guys think would benefit from being sent back to NXT? Austin Theory.
He shows up and he's just the way Austin Theory. I had this dream that I was on main roster and I beat John Cena.
Adam Bull asks here, should wrestlers slow down more? With the recent video of Ospreay saying that he's falling apart only at age 30, do you think it'd be smart for high flyers to maybe change their style up?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Yes. Slow down. Bring it down a notch. Once you hit 20, 25, stop. Mike Speedball Bailey, stop. I don't know how old he is, but once he hits 25,
I think he's
stop.
after 20. I think he's older than that already.
He's bringing it. Nah, you know what? But he's physically like that dude. He doesn't do crazy shit that like he's like being dropped on his head a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's like the bigger thing. Like some of these dudes are just doing stuff that's just too much.
Yeah.
So like just bring the impacts down a little bit.
Yeah. Save that for matches that kind of demand it if you're going to do it at all. Don't make it a regular thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike Stevens, could you see the Usos being split from the Bloodline during the draft? If they are, then Roman's going to politic to have them brought back to whatever brand he's on.
How great would it be if they got split and then like Jay was like he couldn't hide his excitement for it, and then Roman politic to bring them back in?
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Oh man,
that'd be something else.
No,
that'd be something else. Joel Hartman, who in NXT needs to go to the main roster, and who would be their first opponents? Who's one person on NXT that needs to go to main right away?
If HBK said, "Hey Steve, who are you going to send to main roster?" It could be anybody. Carmelo does double duty. He is on main roster, and his talents bring eyeballs back to NXT where he is champion. That is the easiest thing in the world to do. You do that. You put him on SmackDown. That's what you do.
Or you put him on Raw, and then his debut, he beats Austin Theory for the U.S. title. So he's U.S. champ and NXT champ.
Yeah, that's good. That's what you do. I like that.
That's kind of referencing Kevin Owens' call-up.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
That's it.
That's it. Oh,
well,
do we have more questions?
That's the answer.
Sorry,
But
that's
there's
what you mean. Yeah.
There's
Gotcha.
a few more. Clown, what is the weakest finisher for a main event level talent? And is it the Rainmaker?
No. Skull crushing finale. Oh, main event. Main event.
Main event. Is really a main eventer anymore.
No, I mean, the main eventers. No, not the Rainmaker.
Rainmaker's up there. One Rainmaker never wins a main event bout.
Isn't there there's like a line though? Like, okay, do we know how many did Sonata take a bunch of Rainmakers and kick out of them?
I don't know.
Okay. Are we going all time or just right now?
It doesn't say.
What's MJF's finisher?
Punches someone with a dynamite diamond ring.
His actual finisher isn't it like a submission?
It's a Fujiwara armbar. Yeah.
Is that what he calls Salt of the Earth?
Yeah.
But it's just a Fujiwara armbar.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, he never wins with that.
No.
Unless he has decked somebody with the dynamite diamond ring.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that.
All right. Crossroads.
Yeah, he usually needs like 3. Yeah,
but
on lower, like mid-carders, he can beat him with 1.
Yeah, with 1, but on an actual main event match, yeah.
How funny is it going to be to see him? He needs to do, you know what he needs to do with Brock? Put him in a figure 4 and pin him.
Like Sean Spears did, huh?
Because putting Brock in hitting Brock with a crossroad seems goofy.
It does, I know.
It seems weird. I don't know if
it
he's
really
able
does.
to do that.
It does. But I can't imagine, Brock should be able to reverse the pressure of a figure 4, immediately.
I know. Yeah, honestly, anybody beating Brock is silly.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
It kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
Fuzzy Dunlop here says, once AEW have their Wembley show, KCW also doing a Wembley event to beat the attendance numbers.
I think they'll probably stick to Cardiff, maybe. Because, they're doing Money in the Bank at an arena anyway.
Yeah, at the O2, yeah.
I don't think they care. You think they care?
They might. If the Wembley show the attendance numbers for that are higher than Clash of the Castle, they might care.
You think so? Okay.
If AEW gets 80,000 people in Wembley Stadium,
they'll never admit they care though, right?
No.
They'll be like, "Oh, why are you guys are doing Wembley 6 months after AEW?" Oh yeah, that doesn't play into it, and this was our plans for years.
We got a question here from the Enforcer.
Oh, nice.
It says Von Wagner and Christmas Mousepad walking to Jan's looking like real pieces of trash.
Okay, sure.
Would you befriend them and have them join you at the bar?
No.
Or send them off the team? Oh, wow. Send them off the old biddies team for a real sex segment that might turn into Taxi Cab's confessions during Dare or Die.
Dude, what do they have him hepped up on? What are these meds that he's on right now? Because he's got some fever dreams going from the Enforcer. I definitely would not befriend them. I don't know. If Von Wagner walked in, yeah, I'd go up to him. He'd be like, hey, I know you. You always talk about me on your show.
I feel like the more enjoyable experience is just to do some people watching. It's just to see how Von Wagner and Christmas Mousepad interact with other people. I think that'd be way more enjoyable.
with the denizens of Jan's Lounge.
Yes.
In Orangevale. Be like, you want to be on my trivia team? No. I'm not on a team. All right.
I'm on the team of Von Wagner.
I'm on Von Wagner team. Yeah. What's your team name? Von Wagner.
Dumpster Champs.
Dumpster Champs. That's got, man, damn. I got to make that my new quiz, my trivia team.
Oh,
name.
Dumpster Champs? There you go.
Yeah. The dude yesterday at trivia, the DJ for it, I showed him because I wrote down Friendo Club. And last week he got it wrong. He put Friends Club.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I made sure the O was really prime. He's like, oh, were you in last week? I was like, yeah. I said, it's Friendo Club. You put it at Friends Club. It's supposed to be Friendo Club. And then I opened up my T-shirt because I had my flannel on. It was Friendo Club shirt. And he said, oh, man, you should make shirts of that for the rest of your team members. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I don't have the energy to explain to him. Like, I'm trying to get in the zone here, man. I don't want to explain my shit.
I know. We should do. So I was listening to the radio today, and Lars from Metallica was talking about a story where they opened up for the Stones.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't know what year it was. And so I guess they were all backstage, and then one of Mick Jagger's assistants came up and said, hey, Mick, he's going to walk through here. He's going to go to his his little private gym to get warmed up for the show. No one's supposed to look at him. Don't make eye contact with him.
Wow, yeah. Wow.
And so he passed through. No one talked to him. No one made eye contact with him. I was thinking, because usually you hear that like in terms of tales of like Rockstar Excess, where they do that just as kind of like a power play or something like that. And I thought maybe he's just trying to get in the zone for his show.
Oh, Letterman does that. That's what I've read about Letterman, is that he's super grumpy before the show, but it's simply because I kind of get that. I kind of understand that. Like, I try to bring some energy to this shit. And like beforehand, I kind of keep it low. Like, I'm not bouncing off walls beforehand. Yeah. I only got so much energy. I'm old.
Yeah, I know. Hey. And I decided to walk 5 miles before the show today, so I'm low on energy right now.
That was such a great story.
5 miles doesn't seem that long. I
decided to walk 5 miles. It does. That's a long way.
It's a long walk. Yeah. Yeah.
I think 2 is like my limit. If I'm like dropping my car off somewhere.
Well, it's funny because they had some Easter event at a park nearby. It's about a mile away, and I walked that mile. I'm like, God damn, it's been a long time since I walked that far. I'm tired.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And suddenly I thought today 5 miles is a great idea.
Yeah. Sometimes you look like a smart guy. Sometimes you're a bit of a bonehead, man.
Sometimes I like to challenge myself, like to push myself.
I mean, that's a good philosophy in general, but like, there's also being a bonehead about it. Clown says, you sit at the bar or go to a table. No, I went to a bar. I did not.
Steve only sits at the bar. He will not bend. He will not budge.
I will not. No, man.
For anybody.
Stubborn as fuck.
I think even if I was there, it's like, come on, this isn't that comfortable. Let's go. I want a seat with the back on it. Let's go sit at a table. You tell me to fuck off.
No, that's different. No, if it was you, there's a couple of lacy. I'd be like, okay, cool. Let's go to the table. That's what you really want to do. But I definitely have my list of people I'd go to a table for.
Got to be the brain trust, huh? The inner circle.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's the pinnacle. Yeah. It's my brain trust. You're exactly right. Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for your questions. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your channel memberships and your patronage. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.